What's up, YouTube bots community? It's your boy, Mr. Universal Sports, coming at you live and direct from my undisclosed location. About to cover that Lamont Peterson versus Dierry fight, but first I'm going to cover the undercard. The undercard was pretty good, and it featured Gabriel Rosado and Jermell Charlo. Now, I got a quick question to ask you guys on the YouTube bots community, Facebook, or Twitter, whoever follows me. Why did their mother name them two similar names, Jermell Charlo and Jermell Charlo? They could have named them Jermell Charlo or James Charlo or something, that sounds different. But let's get into it. Here's what I liked about Jermell Charlo. I like the fact that he was working the jab behind the whole fight, and he was using the ring. Usually, when these young fighters move up in a big step up in competition, they get a little nervous and try to go for the gusto and try to do things like go for knockouts. But I like the fact that he used the ring and he worked his jab. Another point that I brought out, this was a very big step up in competition for Jermell Charlo. Obviously, he was a prospect. Now he's moving into the contender range. Fighting guy like Gabriel Rosado, who's been in there with guys like Jedion Love, even though I had Rosado winning that fight at one point. That's a controversial decision, but that makes it another video. He's been there with Danny Garcia. Also, he's been in there against Peter Quillen. And you could say that in that Quillen fight, that not to say that Rosado was robbed, but you can pretty much say that he was coming on and the stoppage was too soon. But after what happened to that excuse my iPhone, folks. Sorry about that. After what happened to that heavyweight, maybe they should have stoppage sooner, or the corner should step in a little sooner. But it's good to keep these guys. We try to look out for these guys' health. But anyway, he really used the left hook really well. That was a pretty prominent power shot that Jermell used, and overall, he did everything he was supposed to do in the fight, and I hasn't fought nothing negative to say about the guy. And who I like to see him fight in the future, I don't know if he's earned a world title shot. It's up to, that's for debate and comment. I'm willing to discuss, but I don't know if these guys were top ranked, but I'd like to see him against Demetrius Andrade, or Andrade, wherever y'all like to call about. He likes to be called Andre. Now to Gabriel Rosado. Here's what I liked about Rosado. He tried to apply the pressure early, bring the fight and test the young fighter, but unfortunately, Jermell Charlo was able to use his movement and athletic ability to move out the way. And obviously, I think Gabriel Rosado, and I think he fights too often because that left eye has always been a problem. It was his Achilles heel against Gennady Golovkin. The ref stopped the fight and the Quillen fight because of it. The 3 of his last 4 fights was ended because of that left eye, and the sad part is that maybe he's fighting too soon. He's not letting it heal enough. Because I was thinking, it's January. Wasn't the Quillen fight in like October? So he only gave himself like barely even 2.5, 3 months to heal. And I was like, he's got to at least let that cut heal for 6 months. But we don't know his financial situation, and also another thing I didn't like, he really couldn't land anything solid. In the Quillen fight, Rosado was landing solid punches, and he looked really good. This fight, and credit to Jermell Charlo, he fought a more defensive fighter. He couldn't land anything solid, and that was his Achilles heel. And also, one more thing about Jermell Charlo, he used the bob and weave well. He bobbed and made this guy miss, and he made Rosado miss, and Charlo was able to make him pay. And I see bright things for the Charlo brothers in the 154-pound division. And obviously, you can't have 2 brothers fight each other. So they said in their post-fight interview that Jermell saying in his post-fight interview that him and his brother are never going to fight. So we're not going to bring that up. But I don't know if he's with top rank, but I'd love to see him and Demetrius Andrade get on, or maybe him and another contender. See how he does. Moving on to the main event, and Lamont Peterson and Dierry. And obviously, Dierry received a lot of buzz coming from the YouTube boxing community and Facebook saying that that Lamont Peterson, after the way he looked in his last fight, is on upset alert and all that. But we forgot how good of a fighter, myself included, that Lamont Peterson really was, and that the fact that this guy was a live underdog, and this guy came to fight. Let's bring up Dierry John. He was landing the right uppercut, and obviously he had that pit bull physique. He was working hard, and he was trying to work to use that jab to set up the straight right hand, which is his money shot. But he suffered a cut over his right eye, and the fact that maybe because it was such a step up in competition, that he went from fighting people that we never heard of to fighting a world-class fighter in Lamont Peterson that he couldn't really do much. The stuff that he would do, he would be able to do, he couldn't do against Peterson, because Peterson has seen it before in the amateurs, whereas Dierry John started at 18 years old, and sometimes that comes into play. If you fight against an experienced fighter that had an amateur background, then a guy who started at 18, 19 years old, some of those amateurs instinctively know what to do. Okay, she's throwing the right hand. He's throwing the right hand. Let me move out the way, or let me position myself this way so I can avoid it, or I could counter. If he's throwing a hook, I could counter with the straight jab, with a quick straight left jab. Quick adjustments like that makes a difference in experiencing amateurs. Now, here's what I liked about Peterson. He landed the left. He was working his left hook, and he's working the body. And plus, we know this. He started really slow from rounds 1 through 4, and I'm gonna bring up a scorecard, how I scored the fight for the main event. You see the iPhone going, 117, 111. He started slow. After the first 4 rounds, I had the fight tied, but as we took over, after the fifth round on, I said Lamont Peterson took over, and won the rest of the fight on outwards on my card, except for the 8th round. And he was working the body, like working the body, just using the Lamont Peterson style, working the body, and throwing the left hook to the body. I think he stunned him in one of the rounds. And also, but the one thing that we all noticed about Peterson, and I noticed this when I first saw him, been seen Lamont Peterson prior, which was the Bradley fight. I know it was the Ortiz fight. He takes a while to warm up, and I think that's part of looking back, that may be part of the reason why he got knocked out against Lucas Matisse, because Matisse put him out of his misery before he can get going, and so that happened to him. And other than him taking on, this was a tough contender. Just to say, I'm babbling and rambling on, but this was a tough contender, and this being that he was his mandatory challenger, and the fact that Jean came to fight and win, and the fact that he was able to hold off this tough challenger to win on my card, he's 117 to 111, showed that he's on the upper echelon of the division. Now, where I like to see Lamont Peterson go, Danny Garcia has the WBC, the Ring Magazine, and the WBA belt. I think he also says, the WBC and the WBA in the ring. And I like to see a big unification bout, the IBF champion, which is Peterson, go against Danny Garcia. And I think I know Garcia's fighting against Mauricio Herrera, and I know people are not happy about that fight, but I think it's a good, after beating him with a beast like Matisse, I think he deserves a soft touch opponent in March, which is happening on my birthday, March 15th. So after Danny Garcia may take care of business against, hope he wins, he takes care of business against Herrera, fights Lamont Peterson sometime, maybe in June, and that'll be a good fight. That's the fight I want to see. A good old classic unification bout, and that way we already know Danny Garcia is the man at 140, but when's the last time we've seen a fighter have all of the belts, the major belts in the division, since the WBO, which I think belongs to Ruslan Podkolakov. And we know that fight can happen because of the stupid Cold War Golden Boy top rank. But anyway, that's another video, another discussion. Shout out to Blood Boxing. Shout out to 78 Sports TV, 78 Fight News. Shout out to one of my fellow Californian and Facebook friend and YouTube friend, Outside the Road. Shout out to Mr. Boxing Today. on that video they made about the casual fans and why some people think they're better than others. And I may say my piece on that pretty soon. Anyway, but that's another video. Be back for the Ortiz fight. Your boy Mr. Universal Sports, and I'm out. Peace. Later.